yes, oh yes, oh yes. This is episode number 3 of the Midlife Crisis Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Whelan, part of the Chop Sports family here in Matawan, New Jersey. Dave Sturcio is here to help me out, making sure I look good, sound good. Thank you all for my friends and family who reached out after the first 2 episodes. It was encouraging to hear. Thanks for Coach Hurley to spending time with us. And I think that it was definitely a great conversation. The conversation continues today. People are buying Alabama. I'm selling Alabama. So Coach Lowe was overlooked in the game and changed the game of basketball, especially on the defensive side. My next guest was once again, was also selected to the Basketball Hall of Fame. His legacy is the same conversation as Wooden and Rupp. Just to give you his resume, it might take you 15 minutes, but it'll be an exciting guest. 5 national championships, 6 gold medals as a U.S. coach of the U.S. men's national team, 9 national players of the year, 6 defensive players of the year, 10 consecutive top AP poll finishes, 12 national coach of the year honors, 13 Final Four appearances, 14 ACC regular season appearances, 15 ACC tournament champions. ACC champions, 28 lottery picks, 36 tournament bids, 38 All-American selections, 69 ACC tournament wins, 68 NBA draft selections, including 42 first-round picks, 101 national NCAA tournament wins, 127 weeks ranked at number 1 in the AP poll, 535 ACC wins, 575 weeks ranked in the top 10 of the AP poll, 668 weeks ranked in the AP poll, 1,129 victories at his school, and 1,202 career wins. It's my pleasure to introduce the one and only Coach K. Mike Krzyzewski. So I appreciate you having a few moments here, but just gonna start off with, Coach Knight passed away. Just talk a little bit about his relationship with you. He recruited you at West Point, and then you're also an assistant in Indiana. Just talk a little bit about him and his legacy.
Yeah, well, Coach Knight was really one of the great coaches of any sport of all time. One of a kind, a champion. On the collegiate level, an Olympic champion, and really a great teacher of the game. I'm not sure anybody did more clinics around the country to help, and the way he ran his summer camps. And for me, I was with him at Army when he got started, and was his point guard and captain for a few years, and after my military service, he gave me the opportunity to be a grad assistant. I was at Indiana for a year, and I learned so much from him, and really one of the great coaches, but also one of the great teachers of the game.
And you were assistant on that 74 team. I guess they went 31-1.
Grad assistant.
Grad assistant. So, and that had to be a great experience for you. And you lose to Kentucky, but that probably made the 1992 victory a little more sweeter for you at Duke.
Well, they actually, those 2 Indiana teams should go down as 2 of the greatest teams in the history of our sport, because the team that lost the 1 game, that was when Scott May broke his wrist.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And again, there are a number of teams over the history of our game that sustained an injury late or during the year where a key guy was knocked out. And but that run of 2 years was almost as close to perfection as it can be. And I actually thought the 31-1 team was a little bit better, because you had Steve Green, Laskowski. It was deeper, and the next year's team was pretty darn good too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
but 2 great teams, and just to watch how they did things and how Coach prepared them was an amazing opportunity for me.
And just transferring back to West Point, you're from Chicago. you had the accolades. I think you were leading scorer for 2 years, made All State Catholic League. I guess from doing my research, you were considering Creighton, Wisconsin. How did you end up at West Point? And then coming from an immigrant family like your parents, that had to be like a very proud moment for the Krzyzewski family to be.
Yeah. Well, Coach Knight came in late my senior year. He was actually recruiting a really good player at Loyola Academy uh, who was in our league. And when he was recruiting, Gene Sullivan, their great coach, said you should take a look at this Krzyzewski kid at Weber High School. And so he came in and met with me and my coach, and then with my parents. And uh, I'm not sure that I know I didn't want to go, especially right at the beginning to West Point. But my parents, their parents came from Poland, and they just said, this is where presidents go. And I said, Mom, I don't want to be a president. I want to be a point guard. But I followed their advice, and I call it the best decision I never made.
Yeah. And then your class, I mean, you don't really think about it. You were at, everybody thinks you as a Duke coach. You went to West Point, but you went there. They had the Vietnam conflict going on, and 68, right year before you're graduating, they up, Johnson and Westmoreland, they up I think they called for 500,000 troops in Vietnam. So how was it like going to West Point at that time? And, a lot of your classmates probably got deployed over there as well.
Right. And or upperclassmen when we were freshmen, the class of 66, I was class of 69, they're in 66, 67, those guys, so many of them went over. A number of my classmates went over in their first assignment, especially if they were infantry, and that one of the branches. I was field artillery, so I was assigned to Field Artillery School and then Fort Carson, Colorado, and then was on orders in late 71 to Vietnam, and then they were pulling out during that time or downgrading, and my orders were changed to Korea. So to be quite frank with you, I was fortunate not to go, and a number of my classmates died in Vietnam, and certainly a good number of them served. So God bless them for their service.
And thank you for your service. In November it's a Salute to Service Month, but thank you for your service. But after you did the year at Indiana, now you get the head coaching job at West Point. I think just tell your experience. Well, actually, let me backtrack. When you're a player at West Point, Coach LaBabo, I'm originally from Elizabeth. He made I was reading Bob Knight's biography, and he mentioned it. I've heard conversations in the back from my uncles, my father about LaBabo, but then seeing it in print, I kind of did some more research. But he's kind of like an unsung person. He doesn't really get the accolades. Can you talk a little bit about Coach Lowe and how did Coach Knight find him, and then how he incorporated at West Point?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how they found one another. I do know that Coach Knight had deep respect for coaches older than him who were proven great teachers, great winners. And Coach Lowe was older than him, and really was a legend in high school basketball in the state of New Jersey.
Sure.
And one of the great defensive coaches of all time. And I was fortunate that I played when Coach Lowe was on the staff, and he would drive up from New Jersey. Whenever I would see the Cadillac parked outside the field house, I said, this is going to be an even better practice, because he worked with the guards a lot. And Coach Lowe, I loved them, and he and his wife, and he really taught the game well. And he had a different personality as a head coach. As an assistant coach, he adapted to, really work with Coach Knight and use both their person, because if he did his personality as a head coach,
Mm.
that very much the same for fiery competitors.
Yeah.
But as an assistant coach, he just taught the game so well. And I mean, how lucky was I to spend those years learning from one of the greatest coaches of all time, and also one of the greatest teachers of all time, and Coach Lowe.
Yeah, and then he incorporated the ball you man,
Oh yeah,
and that's kind of. But did he commute from Belleville, New
yeah.
Jersey, every day? Like up, I mean that's I can't imagine in the '60s that being an easy commute. But he
Yeah, I'm not sure he came up every day,
mm,
but most days.
okay,
And no, he commuted. He wasn't going to live in the barracks.
yeah, so
Uh,
yeah,
and he had responsibilities in New Jersey. I know during the summer they ran a big swim club, and
mm,
I mean he was well established, reputation wise and everything in New Jersey, and had this amazing rep, but it wasn't a national rep. It was more for that region, and especially in the state of New Jersey.
and do you think I talked to Bob Hurley a couple episodes ago? He said he kind
Right.
of changed the game on the defensive side of the ball, but he's not really. Do you agree with that statement as far as what he
Yeah,
incorporated?
for me, I don't know, the chicken or the egg, or
Yeah, exactly. So
when all that is established, I do know that uh, he he implemented defensive strategies at the high school level that were way ahead, and the ball you man concept when you were off the ball, help side defense, different terminology, and really made the term man for man is a misnomer. Really, he made it team man for man, where five guys moving as one. And a big thing for him was movement as the ball moves.
okay.
Don't move. Don't wait till after the ball moves. Move as the ball moves. So it was a very much a coordinated defensive scheme.
And then after your time in the military, you did the 1 year at Indiana, and then you got the job at West Point. Did you
Right.
and Coach Lowe got the job at Fairleigh Dickinson? Were you ever still in contact with him at all? Did you play him at all when you were at West Point?
We
Or
didn't play him. We did not play him, but yeah, we stayed in contact. He was a good friend, and uh, the you could, yeah, he was a very upbeat guy,
okay,
funny,
yeah.
really smart, really smart, but a very good people person. And so no, I kept up a relationship with him.
Man, and just transferring to your time at Duke, you went to West Point. You now you got the job at Duke. I mean, both educational institutions, but different type of players going to go to West Point, go to Duke. Did you have a hard time transitioning, trying like the first couple of years? Obviously, it's you got to get your legs underneath you. But you have a hard time transitioning from the West Point. You're kind of in. I wouldn't say indoctrinated, but you're in that military mindset.
Yeah.
A lot of things you took from that you implemented, but how was it when you started at Duke?
Yeah, well, it's a different level.
Mm,
And so the main thing that you're changing is uh, really two main things. One is recruiting. You have to recruit a higher level talent, more higher level talent. And to remember, there weren't guys going early then. There were great players there for 4 years at
sure.
the schools you were competing against. And the second thing is that you got a lot more help off the court. At West Point, we did everything. We
Yeah.
we painted our bleachers, we laid carpet,
Yeah. So
uh,
yeah.
which was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That made you
Yeah.
appreciate it. But at Duke, to let people help you uh, so that you could concentrate on coaching. But no, there's a transition period of a few years to learn, and thank goodness I had an AD and a president who understood that because we were like 38 and 47 my first 3 years, and then we won 24 games, and then it was off to the races.
Yeah. And then what kind of team or what kind of player or what recruiting class kind of turned turned the table, like got you on this trajectory of the establishment yet at Duke?
Yeah, well, you need a high level of talent. Johnny Dawkins' commitment to
Sure.
us was huge. He was the first McDonald's All American, and really it ended up being a lottery pick in the NBA. But that class with Mark Allery, David Henderson, Jay Billis,
Yeah, sure.
uh, Weldon Williams, and to bring Tommy Amaker in the next year,
Yeah,
they were not only really good players, they were good students, and they were young men of high character. And so our program then got established with talent and character, and those were the type of young men we looked for my 40 years after that.
yeah. Well, I mean, 42 years at Duke, and John Shire took over. There was always a conversation who was going to succeed you because you had ample amount of coaches out there,
Right.
and ha- how's the program now? I mean, I know it's kind of reestablished itself, but do you?
No, we're in good shape.
Uh,
We had, you know, all the guys that worked for me, I wanted them to want to be head coaches, and they were constantly being trained whether they were going to be the head coach here, but they were going to be a head coach somewhere. Uh, Whenever I was going to retire, the guy who was my top associate head coach would have been the best suited for the job because our program's different. It's a big brand. It's not just basketball. And John was with us for 8 years, in
sure.
addition to 4 years and a national champion. So, John was more than ready, and he's done an outstanding job.
And
So,
and I
well,
think
we're always thinking of succession.
yeah,
That's my military background.
yeah, sure. And then he just got the number one recruit, in the nation with Cooper Flagg down at Kevin Boyle down in Mount Vernon. So is still continuing to build that foundation. He's got to come back to New Jersey though. He had Spinarkel, Al Nabi, Hurley, Zubek, Jay Will.
No, we had
It,
every guy I recruited from New Jersey helped me become a better coach. I'll tell you that.
so, but just to close it out, Coach, I know you're giving me a couple minutes here. What are you doing now? I know you have the Sirius XM show. What else? And you're also involved in the Jimmy Veen Foundation. What are you doing in retirement to kind of keep your,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have a lifetime contract at Duke.
oh,
I
jeez.
I work for Duke
Yeah.
and pretty much do what I did as a coach, except I don't recruit or coach anymore. But I work as an ambassador for the school. I have my same office staff. I do a lot of speaking for the Washington Speakers Bureau all over the country. I'm a professor at our Fuqua School of Business, and I advise now for the MBA. And so I got plenty going on. I got 10 grandkids who live within 10 minutes of me.
Oh,
So
oh, jeez.
uh, I'm not lacking for things to
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Are you hosting Thanksgiving and all? Is everybody coming to your house?
Not everyone's coming to our
Yeah.
house. We actually, two of our daughters are away with their families,
Okay.
Disney World and in the mountains. But
Oh, nice.
one of my daughters was kind enough to have us come over to her place. So
Yeah.
we'll spend time with Debbie and her family.
Okay. Well, listen, Coach. Thank you very much for the time. It's been, this is real, as a basketball kid who grew up in the '80s, watching ESPN and watching your teams throughout. I kind of, Duke basketball is
Thank you.
you left your mark on the game up there with Wooden and Rupp. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for taking time out of the day before Thanksgiving to speak to me. And thank you for your service too, and and everything you did. And I appreciate the time. And if you could tell John, thank you for me for setting this up. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
no, it's a pleasure to be on, and happy Thanksgiving to
Mhm.
you and your family.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you, sir. And continued success. All right. This concludes episode number 3 with Coach Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K, for joining us. Thank you for his time day before Thanksgiving. I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Also, I want to thank John Jackson for at Duke University setting up the interview. Uh, this is a great opportunity having 3 Hall of Fame coaches in the first 3 episodes. I hope I can continue this this trend. Probably not, but I'll be optimistic. Try to tell your friends about this episode, like, share, and subscribe. This episode was on Chop Sports, part of the Chop Sports Family Network. Also, feel free to contact me via X, formerly Twitter, at Whalebones. Thank you for listening, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.